Hello and welcome back to another episode of Suzerain, where today we are going to start the Reform Committee. Let's see if we can bring some democracy to Swordland, maybe make some changes to the constitution. We'll see. Good afternoon. Waiting behind the door to come at the exact second. It was a joke, mate. Punctuality is important, I'm just doing my job. It was a joke. Relax. Should begin the meeting as soon as Miss Morgana and Mr. Vice President arrives. We finally have some results from the Reform Committee. How does it look? The situation is quite complicated, but I'm sure we will make it work, just like we accomplished many things before. We'll go over the details regarding the new constitution in the meeting. There's a lot of talk about the future of this process. Let us begin to tackle the points of contention. Mr. President, our committee meetings were really fruitful, and we already started working on the constitutional draft together with the reformists. Demanded a little too much, but I've had success with Franz Richter to create a realistic draft that could potentially go through the Supreme Court. A little, they demanded to rewrite the whole constitution. Well, maybe that's not such a bad thing. The requests were definitely not outrageous, just not realistic in today's circumstances. Just because it wouldn't pass the Assembly, nonetheless, I'm glad that we are reaching common ground already. If we can reach an agreement with the reformists, we will be very strong with the Assembly to propose the change. Can we reach a 2/3 majority? If you can get Franz Richter to work with you on this, our only problem would be uniting our own party. We'll never be able to get the NFP to work with us. Those are the fascists, right? Yep. Not interested in getting them to work with us. We need the majority of our 130 seats in the Assembly to vote in favor, with the PFJP's full support of 70 votes. It will be tough to unite the USP with all the divisive wings that are formed. You must make them follow you loyally. We did that before the elections, we can do it again. Calvin is reformists, would be supporting you. He already weighed in heavily in the committee meetings. However, the conservatives will be tough to break. The influence of Sol is still living strong in the party. We will eventually remove his influence. How many votes do they have? Do you think they can be persuaded? I'm sure it's possible, but regardless of my opinion, we need to persuade most of them to support us for passing an amendment to the Constitution. There's only one person who is key to make them back us, Gloria Torrey. She's well respected as Solist, she'll be our biggest obstacle in the Assembly, and her demands will be extensive. Had reasons to think she might be in Orso's pocket, she will be tough to break, but we'll need her to help get conservative support. How about the Supreme Court? They are the biggest obstacle. Even if we pass the Assembly, the Chief Justice will do his best to block our amendments. We need at least 6 of the 11 judges to vote for our proposal, but Mr. Hawker has enormous influence over the judges. It's always the fucking Supreme Court, isn't it? Should reach out to the judges in secret. Some of them might be willing to break rank to support us. Surely support a just cause. All means are to be considered. When I said all means, I didn't mean kill them, Nia. I'm a member of the Supreme Court, which means we only have one vote. 2 of the judges are friends of mine and similar opinion about reforms. Consider them with me. Who else will be willing to support the reforms? Judge Edmonds can be persuaded, and in a session Mr. Dalton and Mr. Merton. They weren't really blinded by the Solist ideology. Those 3 don't seem to be working directly with the Chief Justice. We can get Isabella Edmonds, we might get the 6 votes needed. That's our best bet. What are the demands? Okay, First red line, the new constitution will fix the loopholes regarding the president's absolute veto powers. Even though Richter put on a whole show about why vetoes should completely be removed, the committee has almost unanimously agreed on fixing the loopholes, thus limiting presidential vetoes. The suggestion is to add a clause detailing the methods the assembly may override a veto with some sort of a supermajority. Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. One person should never be able to block the rest. Should be removed. Loopholes live yada yada. They will not be allowed to dictate and negotiate. Loopholes give the president too much power. Yep, like sure there can be a veto, but it should be able to be overridden. Whatever you decide, it's important to get a balanced picture. We will be making history by changing the 29th Constitution of Seoul. Second one was about the judiciary. The new constitution will remove the Supreme Court's right to vote on the legislation. It's yet another point that was unanimously agreed on by all parties. Stark and Seoul established this rule to protect his 29th constitution. We all know most of the judges are still in his paws. Constitutional amendments will still be very difficult to accomplish with a reform like this, particularly because we will keep the two-thirds vote system to be able to propose a change. However, the judiciary will not have the final say in the amendments. We need the court to even pass the change. Why would they support this? This is already what we wanted to do. This will ensure there won't be another politically motivated Supreme Court. Let's not be that optimistic. Apart from these two critical points, they have other major demands. They want to reform the appointment procedure of the ministers. The assembly should have a say in the formation of the Council of Ministers, so more of an American style system where they have to be confirmed. I'm not entirely opposed to it, I guess. Something the majority in our party also supports. If the party supports it, then well, let's go for it. I'm not entirely against it. It does make some amount of sense, even though if we look at America as an example, it doesn't always work. Well, Mr. Richter also talked about abolishing the member of honor rights of Stark and Seoul. That gives him absolute immunity and makes him a permanent member of the assembly. Wait, he's still alive? That one's a controversial one. Yep. Immunity of the justices, the impeachment of the president, limiting the power of the presidential decrees. All of this came up during the committee meetings. Reformers expect big reforms, while our faction in the ESP are not very keen on pushing changes that are too great. I'd say keeping everything in the middle ground is the safest bet. No need to agitate anyone too much. No, we need comprehensive reforms. We pushed for comprehensive reforms. We campaigned on it. It's gonna be an uphill climb, but we do need change. Let's not do incrementalism. Well, regardless of what Mr. Rain decides, we will need to work together to push this agenda. Now we have a better picture of our intentions. I will start reaching us out my contacts, making a draft that works for us. I'll present your input to the committee. In a few months, you would have the draft on your desk and make the final changes yourself. Good. This all sounds very good. Yet another fruitful meeting. Your service is appreciated. We will be remembered as heroes. We will democratize Swordland. Have my full support. Have a good day. Okay, what needs our attention now? WPB protest electoral bill. Discontent past electoral campaign finance bill. Yeah. Okay, I need the money, okay? I'm trying to make the country better. Let's meet with the Chief Justice. This should be interesting. Pour whiskey. Take a moment to relax. Let's not get too comfortable. Need to keep our wits about. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Lucian. Good to see you. Have a seat. I'm sorry that I couldn't explain the situation to you in detail earlier, sir. The Chief Justice insisted on seeing you this evening. I do not know what he has to say, but it will probably be about the new constitution. That's a good guess. Be coming shortly with Judge Karasi to the meeting. We shouldn't take them lightly. Here to defend us up to reforms. Maybe able to cooperate with them regardless of what they say. We'll continue with the new constitution. They're here to test the waters. Ah, old white guys. Of course they are. Good evening, Mr. President. It's great to see you. Welcome. Good to see you, gentlemen. Please. How are your first couple of months? I hope you're faring well. It's very busy, but I'm doing good. It will only get busier. I think you're doing a good job so far, considering all that's happening around us with the shootings. It's a troubling time. Probably know why we're here. Please enlighten us. We know you're working on a new constitution. The Supreme Court does not approve of this. With all due respect, the constitution needs to be updated, sir. I am sure you are well aware of the public demand and our circumstances. Consider one who is not aware of our actual circumstances. This is exactly why the constitution needs to be reformed. You want to make a weaker constitution in the midst of problems from both inside and outside. Even if your proposal passes the assembly, I will make sure it will not pass the Supreme Court. That much is clear. So you can come on, Mr. Hawker, we can figure something out. We'll get the court too. Okay. You need to soon to be against it. Let's play naive. Do you think I live under a rock? I know what goes on. Seem to be only partially informed about the current situation. Please let us explain the reasons of our stance. Oh, do please explain. We are protecting the Constitution because it works clearly. It works fantastically. It is efficient and it gives the authority to lead the nation with swift decisions. Suzerain has more important problems and threats than we should face right now. Instead of nitpicking about some paragraphs of the Constitution, we have a potential war with our borders. Mr. President, I know that you are a busy man, so I'll make this quick. We all know that Sorge's security forces found stashes of Rumburgian weaponry in the hideouts of Bloodish separatists. As much as Rumburg poses a direct threat, now it's clear that they are also intervening in our country and weaponizing our minorities against us. It's not unprecedented to think that the Bloods will start their terror again with their new toys. Yeah, the Bloods are clearly the Kurds analog in this. Not to mention the fights that broke out between the left and right wing after the shooting. Communists are rising with the support of the United Continent. The case is imminent in the Storyland. You can fuck off. And sadly, we don't see the administration taking the necessary precautions. The society will not focus on military during your term. Under current circumstances, that cannot be tolerated at any costs. Tolerated. Tolerated is the word. The court has no jurisdiction over these matters. We are taking the necessary steps. No need to worry. I did promise that by the circumstances have changed. Tolerate. You should be more careful with your words of choice. Yeah, don't you fucking come into my office and say you can't tolerate anything. The decision to destroy Sourland cannot be tolerated, whether it comes from you or President Sol. Why can't you admit that we are making sense here? Regardless of that, you are also aware that the armed Bloodish separatists have direct connections to the Workers' Party of Bloodia. Democratic Party, unlike the militias. Yes, the Kurdish Workers' Party did nothing wrong. That is the that is the that is the position of this channel. The PKK did nothing wrong. Fuck. At least nothing the Turks didn't do. Uh, Anyways, they may claim they have no ties with the separatists, but most of their members used to be part of them before they formed the Workers' Party of Bloodia. How about the name, Mr. President, is not the Workers' Party of Swordland, is it? Oh, fucking hell. What's this all about? The only reason they are not in the assembly is because of electoral threshold. They have gotten quite big. They are clearly getting outside help, and their connections to the paramilitary Bloodish force cannot be denied. And all of a sudden, the reformists are trying to decrease the electoral threshold so that the Bloodish separatists can be legitimized in the assembly to achieve their aims of independence. Well, whilst I would prefer that our Bloodish brothers and sisters remain within the glorious nation of Sorland, if indeed it is the will of the people that there be an independent Bloodish republic, I would make all efforts to mediate such a transition to ensure the rights of the Bloodish people to self-determination are not encumbered upon. I think that's Mr. I will not allow it to happen. That's too dramatic. Say what you will, Mr. President. I am stating the obvious. Yeah, I grow tired of you stating things. The reformist suggested changes would also bring the communists, who are backed by United Contona, into his assembly. Do you see the pardon yet? I am not a conspiracy theorist. It's not a conspiracy theory. Haven't you been briefed by our security team? Should take the necessary measures against communist and bloodish plots, as well as increasing our military budget against a possible conflict with Rumburg. And of course, not all into the traps of the reformists. By listening to the demands, they are clearly plotting to weaken the president and our whole administration in order to exploit the situation. Which brings us to some very important information that we have. It's definitely something that you need to hear. It can change absolutely. Oh, for fuck's sake! Well, I'm afraid of what's coming. What is it that you think is so important that will change my mind completely? Well, let Chief Justice talk. The person in question is Mr. Franz Richter himself. We have enough information to infer that he has ties with Arcasia. Arcasia is aggressively growing their influence around the world, and now we have Mr. Richter coming up with these ridiculous demands for new constitution amidst a chaotic period in Swordland. Oh, for fuck's sake. How would you know that Mr. Richter has ties to Arcasia? You all know he has been in Arcasia many times. Oh, because he's been there many times. Another conspiracy theory. Believe what you will. Has been spotted in a hotel in Arcadia last year. Here they held a conference on economic development in volatile regions. So he was there attending a conference. That's your evidence. He was sitting in a hotel that was holding a conference. Starting to influence the masses into believing that our constitution is the reading for everything bad. His trip was not documented, nor was he an official guest. We believe that he had a meeting with President Walker behind closed doors. We also have a couple more photos of him. Oh, so you're taking photos of him? You're not making this better for you, mate. You're surveilling him. He also attended another event in Lesbia last week. Many Solas are already following his leads for quite some time. No, I didn't mean how do you find out about this because I also want to know. I mean, how do you find out about this because I think it's fucked up that you that you're having a political leader followed. Arcasia is behind the reformists. They demand the only benefits Arcasia. Clearly a plot against Swordland. We understand the reasons of our current stance and our suspicions about your advisors. We appreciate the information, Mr. Hawker, but I advise against jumping to conclusions right away. We still need to check the information. There's not much to think or check. This is clearly an emergency. In such cases, the Constitution gives the President the right to use his emergency powers. If we work together, you can be sure that the Supreme Court will not block your declaration of emergency. Still too skeptical about this. I will have to decline. Ah, fucking prick. Why don't you explain your agenda yourself? You are swaying the President to ignore the national security threats. You're the one trying to sway me into believing in conspiracies. See what you will, history will prove us right. And if you believe you can enact these reforms, you are living in a land of dreams. Regardless of the situation, I'll be proceeding with the reforms. I think this meeting is over. Yep, get the fuck out of my office. Enough. Seems the President is done with us. Let's take our leave. That was not good. They clearly tried to threaten you. You have to make sure the reforms will pass the court. How dare they take... I'm not scared of them. Orso will be doing whatever it takes to damage you. We need to be careful. There are still many old guard sympathizers in our party, and we can't let them divide our party. Motherfuckers just strolling into my office, behaving like that, thinking they own the place. Maybe someone needs to fall down the stairs. Accidentally, of course. Completely accidentally. I would never suggest that certain people might fall on the stairs. Okay, what's in the news today? School poisoning in Rebel. Time for women to stand up. Questioning Solist education. Upcoming government budget changes. Missing fishing vessel. Okay, what do we have to do? Let's hang out with our son. This seems like a nice thing to do. Look who's finally out of his room. This seems like a very dad thing to say. Come spend some quality time. These are very dad things to say. Come to spend some quality time with your old man, have you? Can spare a few minutes. Seriously? I'm preoccupied with that. I'm sorry, I know I haven't been around. It's okay, I know you've got the most stressful job in the country. The grin in his face was expecting praise. Good job. Thank you, sir. It's in our utmost interest to fulfill our duties with precision. The grilling shall commence in exactly 1 minute and 32 seconds. Don't be a smartass. Get me a beer. How old is Frank? High school. Okay, he can have a beer. Don't tell your mother. Shush. Do not tell your mother. When I grew up, the legal drinking age was 16. I turned out, well, not fine, but it's fine. Can I ask you something? You can ask me anything. I feel like there's so much when you've been hiding from me about your past, about what's going on right now. And then that night after the ball, you told me everything was under control, but it wasn't. I know what's happened in the 20s, we learned all about it in school. Now with the protests and the riots, it's going to be the same thing. Is there going to be a civil war in Soarland? I will never let that happen. What was he like back then? Uncle Peter said the two of you went through a lot. Not a kid anymore, you can tell me. It was the dark times. Before the Empire. No, wait. The Empire was the dark times, so it was before the dark times. So it was the time of the Empire. You're nearly a grown man. Yeah, yeah. Let's have the conversation where I tell you this shit once and then never speak about it again. Tell Frank about the coup. I was barely older than you are now. Left the classroom to go back home as I heard the sound of multiple vehicles approaching the campus gates. As they got closer, I realized there were military camouflage trucks and tanks carrying hundreds of soldiers. Same soldiers were supposed to protect Swordland citizens pointed their guns at us. They immediately took control of the facilities when my friends asked what was going on and was arrested immediately. More people got angry and gathered in protest. No, he needs to know how bad it was. I was there with the protests as they declared martial war. We marched towards them. They threatened to use force, but we stood our ground, so they started beating anyone they saw, including me. The physical wounds took a few weeks to heal, but the mental scars have stayed with me to this day. I was lucky. Some of my friends were shot, many more were arrested. I can forget the screams to this day. Tell Frank about the Civil War. It was right after I met your mother. Both joined the same human rights group to push for change. After the coup of 27, eventually I became convinced I wasn't doing enough, so I joined the Red Youth. Then one night it happened, two different factions in the army, one of them led by fascists and the other by socialists, started fighting against each other. It was a bloodbath, nowhere was safe. So we organized a protest. In our minds, he was the better of the two and a true socialist. Okay, maybe this is a little bit dark. Too dark to tell him. I think this is one of the things that I'll never tell anyone. It was horrible. They were waiting for us. Everything plunged into chaos. Soldiers started beating and shooting everyone. That's enough for today. Yeah, there's shit. There's shit he doesn't have to know. I know I don't understand how easily my life is sometimes. One more thing though. I know you joined the Red Youth. Do you mind if I ask why? Communist revolution for Sunderland was and still is the only way. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. Is the kid gonna join the Red Youth? Am I encouraging him to join a communist guerrilla? The problems are nothing compared to what we went through. What problems? I'm here to listen to them, no matter what they are. I'll be upstairs until dinner. And looking at the time, it's about time to call it for an episode. As always, I have been Pope. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the things that make the algorithm happy, and I will see you all next time.